Hello and welcome, my friend. Some lives don't follow a straight path. There are incredible blessings, yes, but the pain along the way hasn't been small. These lives begin with detours, rise through resistance, and carry questions that don't always have clear answers in the moment they're asked. If your life has ever felt like that, if you've ever quietly wondered, why is this the road I had to walk? You're not lost. You're remembering. Because what if I told you none of this was by accident? And now finally, all that's been building behind the scenes is beginning to move. Not just understanding, but breakthrough, healing, the long-awaited shift, and the blessings you almost stopped believing in. But before any of that could arrive, something first had to be broken open. The people you couldn't hold on to. The places you were never meant to stay. The parts of yourself that had to fall away so you could return to who you really are. This life, your life, wasn't randomly assigned. You chose it. Not because you wanted pain, not because you deserved hardship, but because your soul recognized the shape of what it could become. You agreed to this journey with God long before your first breath, before the world got loud, before anyone had a chance to doubt or define you. And your choice wasn't about proving anything. It was about remembering everything. Because somewhere in eternity, your soul said yes to a path that would ask for more awareness, more empathy, more strength than most people will ever be asked to carry. You didn't ask for ease, you asked for truth. And truth rarely arrives gently. It often clears out illusion before it brings peace. Picture this. Before you were born, you were handed a sealed letter. On the outside it read, "Open only when you're ready." You're born, you grow, life goes on. You do your best to fit in, to follow the script. But deep down, something always feels slightly off. Like you're in a play where everyone else knows their lines, but yours haven't been given to you yet. Then something happens, a loss, an awakening, or maybe you simply reach a point where pretending to be okay is no longer an option. That's when the letter begins to open. And inside, not a checklist, not a roadmap, just a reminder, you chose this, and now you're starting to remember why. Why your joy sometimes feels quiet, why you feel things more deeply than others seem to. Why even small betrayals seem to cut so deeply. It's because you were never built for a surface-level life. Your path was always meant to go deeper, to reach into places most people are too afraid to look. Because your journey was never about status. It was always about depth. You didn't come here to fit in. You came to break patterns, to shift timelines, to heal wounds your ancestors couldn't name, to end cycles that drained your lineage for generations. And yes, that has often meant being misunderstood, being the sensitive one, the intense one, the overthinker. But sensitivity is only seen as a weakness in a world uncomfortable with truth. And you, my friend, were born with a depth of awareness that can't be taught. That's why some environments that felt fine to others always felt too small for you. Why some relationships couldn't last, no matter how much you tried to shrink yourself to stay. Because this life was never about fitting. It was about freeing what was always buried inside of you. And as long as you compare your unique God-given life to someone else's normal, you'll always end up disappointed. Because that ruler was never made to measure a divinely designed life. You know, you weren't late, you weren't behind, you weren't broken. You were being aligned with something ancient inside of you, something that couldn't wake up until the right moment. And now it's waking up. That's why the patterns are crumbling. That's why the desires you used to chase no longer tempt you. That's why your soul is asking for different things now. Because your contract isn't just about survival anymore. It's about embodiment. This is the season where what you've always carried quietly starts to take shape, visible. So if your life has felt strange, if your timing has always been off by the world's standards, if your milestones have arrived in whispers instead of applause, take this in deeply. You didn't come here to follow the map. You came here to become the compass. And the reason your life looks different is because it was never meant to be a copy. It was meant to be an original story, one others would one day be inspired by. The truth is, you could have asked for something else, a different kind of life, a quieter journey. You could have signed up for a story with less loss, fewer delays, and more immediate reward. But that wouldn't have unlocked what's in you now. Because you weren't just shaped by what happened. You were shaped by how deeply you paid attention to it. There's something different about someone who notices everything. The way the light shifts in a room, the tone behind someone's silence, the moment the energy changes even when no words are spoken. That awareness, that's not random. That's part of the agreement. God didn't choose you because you were already strong. He chose you because you were willing to become strong without pretending. He chose you because you said yes to learning how to see through things most people ignore. And for a long time, that may have made you feel like you were always just a little out of step with the world around you. You didn't react the same. You didn't chase what others chase. Even your pain felt different, deeper, heavier, like it was attached to something larger than just the moment. That's because this wasn't about one situation or one season. This was about shaping a soul that could hold what others couldn't. You may have asked at some point, why did they leave? Why did that fall apart? Why couldn't I stay where I felt safe? And while those moments hurt, they were never rejections. They were redirects. God wasn't punishing you. He was clearing space. Not because you weren't ready for connection, but because the people meant to walk with you needed to be able to recognize you as you really are, not the version you would have had to shrink into just to keep them. You weren't being removed from love. You were being returned to real alignment. And here's the part most people never get to hear. This wasn't just a spiritual experiment. It was a sacred setup. All of it. The loneliness, the confusion, the hunger for something you couldn't name. It was preparation for a life you wouldn't just live, but lead. Because you're not here just to get through things. You're here to shift things in your family, in your space, in the unseen spiritual atmosphere around you. That's why it's never been easy to explain what you're going through. Because your process isn't meant to be understood by everyone. It's meant to be felt by those who are being awakened by watching you. You may not preach, you may not speak loudly, but your life, it teaches. And that too is part of the agreement. So what now? Now is the season where what you know inside finally begins to show up around you. The outer world starts catching up to the inner work, and things that used to confuse you start making quiet sense. The pace you were forced to walk, the solitude you didn't choose, the discomfort of not knowing what was next. None of it was wasted. It built capacity. It built clarity. And it built a deeper trust in the God who never left. Even when everything else did. You agreed to this before birth. Not because you wanted to suffer, but because you wanted to see clearly. And now you're starting to see the timing you once questioned is beginning to align. The relationships you thought you lost are being replaced with ones that match your spirit. The dreams you almost let go of are resurfacing with new weight because now you're ready to carry them. And more than anything, you're starting to recognize yourself again. Not the version you had to become to survive, but the one that was always underneath all of it. The one that said yes long before the noise began. This isn't the end of your story. This is the part where everything starts to catch up to what's always been written. Because the moment you begin to walk with the awareness that you agreed to this, you stop fighting every detour. You stop asking to be saved from the path and start asking to walk it with your eyes open. That's when peace shows up differently. That's when alignment replaces strife. That's when God doesn't feel far. He feels familiar because you've met him before and you're meeting him again. So when you look at your life today, with all its sharp edges and slow climbs, don't rush to erase the parts that didn't make sense in real time. Sit with it. You'll find that they were holding shape for something your spirit was always meant to remember. And now that you've remembered, you're ready to live what you already agreed to fully, clearly, and on purpose. This is the life your soul said yes to, and this is the season where you begin to own that. Yes, thank you so much for taking this journey with me. If you found value in this message, please like the video and share it with others who might benefit. Don't forget to subscribe and continue your amazing journey by watching one of the videos showing on your screen that resonates with you the most. See you.